Welcome to Real as Possible, where two sisters keep it real with hilarious stories from our childhood and honest conversations about faith, life, and everything in between. Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of the Real as Possible podcast. We are talking all things marriage, and hey, we should probably talk about one of our favorite. You guys aren't big on Valentine's. No, right?
We're not romantic.
We have a family tradition, but that's...
What is it?
Every Valentine's Day, we get a bunch of steaks, and we do a steak dinner at home with the kids. That's
I
just
love that.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to go out on Valentine's. I
We
don't.
just don't go out. We'd rather just be with the kids because it's crazy, and all the babysitters are taken up. So
well, it started
the
in
kids are older
COVID
now, but
when things were like shut down and things were crazy, and we stayed in. But because we also didn't have a sitter, we just made a family dinner, and Liam loved it so much that the following year he asked for it. So now every year we've been doing that.
Yeah, that's cool. Mm-hmm. We don't go out on Valentine's Day because it's hectic and crazy, and
it is.
Like food costs more, and
You do like to give gifts. Like you like to usually get me a gift, and I try to get you one.
Yeah. Matt will sometimes.
He's a hard.
say-
He's not easy to give gifts to.
Matt gets stuff for us girls.
I am easy to get stuff for. You proved that this last Christmas, like the best Christmas for presents you've ever done since we've been married.
Yeah, and you don't use any of those gifts.
What were they?
You just started using the knee pillow again. I was like, wow, that thing's been on the floor for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
She got me headphones. I just don't know how to use them sometimes. And then she got me a board game that I've been like clamoring for and wanting.
I got you 2 of those. Yeah, the same.
The other one was for our anniversary.
Oh, that's right. We're right next. Yeah, our anniversary is right next to Christmas.
December
Hold on,
13th.
pause. And then edit. And go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I'm not editing that. Yeah.
Okay.
be blessed.
Be blessed.
So we were just talking about tips on dealing with communication,
Mm-hmm.
and we had said, that
Before I rudely interrupted you.
yeah, Joe had to go pick up our oldest daughter, but I think that it's hard if one spouse doesn't listen or doesn't like show change. I think that can be really, really tricky, and I do feel very blessed and fortunate that I think on both sides we have been very active listeners. Like we've tried really hard to honor each other and listen and meet each other in the middle. If we disagree completely, sometimes we just have to table it, and we just, I don't know. I'm trying to think of things that we've like completely like disagreed on, and we've had to just.
I don't think it's happened.
I mean,
because even if we do, like we'll come back around and it'll just kind of be like, okay, you know what? Like I see your point. I'm sorry about that. Like, how can we compromise here? And when Nicole is mad, she'll be like, oh, fine, I'll just do this, like, and I'm like, no, like, that's not what I'm asking for,
Yeah, I'm like, you want the world? Take it all. I'm done. And then Joe's like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, I can be petty. I've grown.
I wouldn't call it petty. I would just, like, for me, how I interpret that is like, you're getting overwhelmed.
I would say the biggest sources of our conflict is it stems from a thing. It usually stems from some point of being unequally yoked, where she feels like she's pulling all this weight, and once she realizes that, and she feels, that she's pulling way more, then there's a resentment that comes in, and usually it all explodes all at once, and usually I'm oblivious to it because I'm like, until it all happens, and then I'm running around the house cleaning.
90% of the things, like when I look back, so one, I'm super bad at remembering the things that make Nicole mad, or like the fights that we've had, but when I look back at like, oh, I remember that fight, I was being a big idiot. Like, sincerely, Nicole doesn't just get mad at me because she just wants to be mad. So I will say that, like, anytime that there has been a larger fight than just the normal, like, oh, you didn't do the dishes, you didn't take out the trash,
Right,
like
the little dumb
like-
things.
which are also almost 95% of the time my thing anyway. There is a justifiable reason why she's angry. Like that's not. I remember one conversation in particular. I was super young and really dumb, and I didn't do something I said I was gonna do. I didn't do something I was supposed to do, and Nicole got mad, and I was like, like, are you on your period or something? And like, I was just innocently asking a question, and she goes, "Don't assume that because you did something wrong, I'm on my period."
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like I will tell Matt I'm angry, but I don't know why. Like there is a frustration, and he's
Not
like,
really
I
in
can
the
tell.
moment though, because if I point out you're angry because the dog made you mad and it triggered all this other stuff. So the dog is what made you mad, and that's
Yeah.
not the.
And this is so rare too. Like we're talking about like all of like there's not a lot. We don't fight
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, I
No.
think we can bicker sometimes. Just there is, I will say, like you can usually tell when Shark Week is coming. Like you can usually tell,
Okay, I
like
just told the story,
like-
but you said it.
you, like like I can usually tell because I'm getting overwhelmed easily. I'm getting shorter with people, and like I also have a thing with noises. If there's certain noises around me,
You just
it
get a little more
causes me to have rage.
overstimulated and
Yeah.
irritable, and all your senses are heightened.
Right.
Yeah.
So
But at the same time, that actually makes sense to me. Like,
right.
I can't imagine going through for one day what you guys have to go through once a month until you're in your 50s or 60s. To me, if that happened to guys, I think more people would get murdered.
I mean, and there's so much to, we can go into that a whole different, but there's
Yeah.
so many variables there with hormones and all of that. So it's like, but also just having self-control and learning how, like, okay,
Yeah.
I know this about myself. I tend to get more paranoid or, more sensitive and insecure in these moments. And so I think when we're talking about communication, just saying that to you, just saying like, I'm actually really struggling. And like, poor Joe will be next to me and I'm like, your breathing bothers me. And so, and
I will be
like,
across the room, and I'll look at Matt and be like, "Do you have to do that?
And Joe,
Can you
like,
just stop?" And he's like,
breathe?
"What?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Breathing."
Yes,
I can hear
have
you.
to do that.
That's his response.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
just
Yeah.
the way I breathe.
So
Yeah.
I will say there was a lot of these like conversations that we're having about in this conflict resolution was when we were younger, like because you're learning each other.
Younger and younger in merit. Like, yeah,
like
we're,
you're
yeah.
But I remember at one point it was like a Shark Week thing, legitimately, and you were like, Shark Week's coming up, and I was like, okay, but like I actually want to be on your team and I want to help you, but I
Yeah.
can't help you if you won't tell me how to help you. And
I don't even know how you can help me. 'Cause
Right. And like we got past the whole mind reading thing. That was a big source of conflict where you're like, I just want you to want to do the dishes. And I'll be like, I'll never want to do the dishes.
Yes, face. He's like-
If you want them done, you have to be okay with asking. And I'll do that because I
Yeah.
love you, but don't just as like, and Nicole used to do this thing where there'll be like trash on the ground.
I will wait
And
days.
you don't do it anymore because it doesn't work. Because
Because
if
I'm
you're
picking
waiting-
it up.
If you're waiting for somebody to pick it up, no one's gonna do it. No one's gonna, And she's like, "Well, I was waiting to see how long it was gonna take for any of you to do it." And I'm like, "You're waiting until you're dead." 'Cause I
No.
don't like.
All
You're
you
just
have
gonna
to
make
do
yourself
is pick
more
it
mad.
up.
Well, and I was like, "You pick it up," and that started one of our fights.
Those things will just make you more mad
Right.
because that's going to cause resentment, that's unequally yoked where why do I have to pick it up? Why do I have to do that? You know what I mean? And so just finding ways to be equally yoked to where, like I want to do the dishes because I know a clean house makes her happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the number one thing that makes her happy more than anything in the world is a clean, uncluttered house. There's like
Right.
nothing else that brings
Same.
her more joy and peace.
Same.
So when I see a mess, when I see dishes,
I would rather spend my Saturday doing that than a lot of
Like,
other
I-
outdoor things.
I hate cleaning. I loathe cleaning, but I like the way it makes my wife feel,
Right.
which then makes me feel better, makes the
Nice.
whole house feel better.
Such a
when
good husband.
It's all for show.
Whatever.
He's got
Don't do
anger
that.
inside.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Dishes.
That's
so
not true.
that's why I like to do those things.
That's good.
It's just all about just being equally yoked, and then it's like, so we just, if any arguments we have, it's always the exact same arguments that happen over and over and over again. It's always the exact same thing where one of us has certain things that we need, or things that we have expectations for, or things that we desire out of. It feels like in the moment, like if I'm just going around being lazy and not cleaning the house, or I'm not like parenting my kids, or I'm not being present, in her mind she's feeling like
You don't
I don't
care.
care.
Right.
You know, or if I have things that like I desire out of marriage too, and it seems like she doesn't care from mine. But that's not how it is. But that builds resentment, and
Right.
it seems to be the exact same arguments that just happen, and it's always
Just
rooted
repackaged it.
in
Yeah.
unequally yoked pulling.
Mm.
If that
So what
makes
have you
sense.
guys done to like equal that yoke out?
Talk about it?
Yeah.
Usually
huge
she
on
blows
talking.
up, or when I finally like raise my hand about something that I'm like,
Excuse me, I have a question.
excuse me, teacher. I have something that maybe I want out of marriage, you know. And then a fight happens. Then it all works out for the good because we talk about it.
Yeah. And I think just like from communication and talking about it, like just knowing how each other works, knowing the so-called triggers of what causes it and stuff, or the love languages of each other, where it's like I have my set and he has his set, and understanding it, and then having respect when it comes to like, because Matt wakes up 6 days a week at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and he's tired. So that I have to experience that tomorrow. I'm like, ugh, and he's just like, I do it every day. But
I get done early.
yeah, but so to me, it's like if he wants to take a nap in the afternoon, I need to like remind myself he wakes up super early. But if I'm also super tired because I work at a school with kids, and I come home and my kids are like, my kids are pretty quiet. Like our house is pretty quiet, but especially homework time, I'm like, I need you to do this. I can't. I'm around kids all day long. I've had my 12 touches. I'm done. And it's just like, I have to check out at that point, and we kind of know where it's just like, I need this, or I'm not able to succeed in this. And it's vice versa. And
Yeah, because what can happen sometimes is if you pour all of your energy into your job or your hobbies or your friends or your life, and then your spouse is left over to pick up the scraps,
we've had many conversations
where it goes,
with this.
I've had my 12 touches, and that means that I can't touch her, so that means that there's nothing left for me, you know. Or if I'm
The 12 touches could be like just a little
Yeah,
tap
right.
Or
on
if
your hand or
I'm-
something. It's like,
I've never heard of that. You like
I just learned it this year. A human, I guess, a person needs 12 touches in a day. It can just be like, hey, how are you? Or something like that. But there'll be times where I'm just like, I've had my 12 touches. Don't
I'd
touch
love to
me.
be in that room where
But
they did
it's-
that study to figure that one out.
It was very
Be a fly on
interesting.
the
It's
wall,
very,
be like-
very good. Yeah, I'll
Is that a
figure.
touch? Does
I'll
that
try and
count?
figure it out. So then, like, try and get the words on exactly what the 12 touches are. But it was really fascinating
I
to
think
learn about
I'm
it
like
this year.
Triple
in training.
that. I need 50 touches.
Yeah, Joe's very
Do you need
like
squeezes?
he's
Yeah.
very
Physical touch.
And
Yeah.
not just like, oh god, physical touch. Like
he needs hugs.
Matt's
and-
like that too.
Nicole
like
just
if
come and
I,
put her hand. Yeah.
what was it? We were
100%.
just talking about this.
It's weird, like the way I know my wife loves me is just her going like this on my back.
Joe,
Just doing
Joe will
that,
just,
I'm like, that if that
If I
happens
just
in church, I
rub
go,
his little
oh my gosh, my wife
shoulder.
loves me. That's
Yeah.
literally,
it's
it
funny
goes, my wife
because
loves me.
it's
Just
when
like-
Joe makes me a sandwich.
Which she wants sometimes at like
It's usually when he serves
11:30.
me.
Well, that's acts of
call it a
service is
love
her
sandwich.
huge love-
That is, yeah.
Well,
And-
her thing is you yell, Lieutenant Dan ice cream.
Yeah.
From, Lieutenant Dan
Lieutenant Dan ice cream.
So
That's
no-
usually when I'm sick, though. I always want
Nicole-
ice cream when I'm sick.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love ice cream when I'm not.
I
'cause
will
it, like,
yell from
is-
the other level.
Or orange
Lieutenant
juice.
Dan, and he knows once he hears it, he's like, she's gonna want ice cream. Ice cream.
Ice cream, Lieutenant Dan. So one of the things, you know what? I lost my train of thought. Let's just go to the next question.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh, okay. So this one was, what would you tell your newlywed selves after having been married for 10 plus years?
I don't think I can say it on a podcast. Should I say it?
No.
Son, I've learned a thing or two. Let me sit you down and tell you how to be a real man, how to make her a real woman. I would say, and I say this to young dads all the time when they're about to have a newborn baby for the first time, just do it. Just get up and do it. You know, if the baby's got a poopy diaper, just go change it.
Yeah.
Don't argue about
It's
whose
2025,
whose
man.
turn it was. You know,
Joe.
if like your wife asks you to go do something in the middle of the night, just go do it. Just
Especially if she's having like the like ability to actually ask you to do something. Like that's so, because like I said, we're not mind readers.
yeah.
And so if your
There's-
wife asks you to do something,
Take it.
do it.
Yeah.
Oh my
There's
gosh, save
literally-
yourself.
And I'm looking in the camera as I say this.
I'm gonna zoom in.
Okay, listen. Being a husband that your wife brags about to her friends, you know, and the other wives are going, man, I wish my husband did that. Those are some of the best things. So just being a husband that just serves his wife.
I've never even thought about that.
And
Do you
just-
brag about me?
Yes, all the time.
Yes, of course. But there's times when wives, they'll talk, you know, they'll go, man, I wish my husband was like that. Be the husband that, you know, your wife wishes for.
There's this question that says, do you believe that you are equal to your spouse, or do you believe that you are not equal, but both bring what is needed to make the relationship functional, healthy, and happy? That was from your sister,
Well, it's funny because I
Which
think.
sister?
Erica.
Nice.
Well, it's your sister. You answer first.
Well, he's got two. Yeah. I totally read
Well,
that.
I think that so you can be like, I think we both carry equally yoked. We're both carrying the wagon in equal ways, but we have different roles.
Mhm.
I could, no matter what I do, there is nothing I could ever do to myself mentally or physically or spiritually to be a mother. There's nothing I could ever do to do that. And there's nothing she could ever do to
Yeah.
be a father.
I was just thinking of that yesterday.
So like we're not equal because I will never be a mother, right? But we're equal when it comes to we have to pull weight. We have to distribute weight together.
At the same
Otherwise,
speed.
we're just going to go spin around in
Mhm.
circles.
Yeah, I would say that when it comes to like, are we equally as important? Yes, we are both equal in that. Like, we're important. You're important just as much as I'm important, but we have different roles, and those things are special. Those things are like, there are certain things that I can't bring to the table that only you can, and vice versa. And so I agree with you.
Well, and it's a good question because it brings out the point of like how are we defining equality? Because in the
Right.
sense that like value wise, there is no inequality from any person ever.
Right.
Like no matter how other people view, like this is humanity is on a level playing field,
Right. Right.
And
We're both equally
there's
as important.
intrinsic
Yep.
Image of God.
value, right? And that's exactly where that comes from. And so, yeah, like it's easy to say like we are absolutely equal.
Mm-hmm.
And what Matt was alluding to is when you talk about the inequality aspects, it's like I literally would never be able to birth a human or hold a human inside of me for 9 months. And so like the capacity that women are burdened with in that sense, like that is so much farther beyond the capacity of a man. Like men's contribution to human life is doing the one thing that we think about most of the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's a comedian joke, but it's so true. Like, and so the burden for family and the burden for our household is really, really heavy leaning on the mother in that aspect. And so like, and this kind of isn't part of the question, but it's something that I think that I want to talk about in this moment because it's a huge biblical misconception. You know, like when you go to Ephesians chapter 5 and it talks about like husbands being the head of the household and like women submit to your husbands and that scripture in Ephesians 5, like verses 20 and beyond until you get to chapter 6. Well, the first part of that, Paul says, submit to one another. So there's like this mutual submission, right? Yeah. And then it talks about what that looks like for each party, right? Because it's different roles, right? Different things that we're doing, and also he's speaking to like the different things that, like, generally speaking, or blanket statement needed, like that men need and that women need, right? Yeah. And it actually has nothing to do with who's in charge. And this hierarchy of in charge isn't actually a Jesus construct, because Jesus, who is king of the universe, who he calls men to be like the head of the household, like Jesus is the head of the church. So that the way that he did that was by coming and serving and washing feet. And so like everything that Jesus was, who we're supposed to emulate, which the first part of Ephesians 5 says to imitate God in everything you do, right? So it's this whole idea of like we're image bearers for Christ and we're doing what he did. And then there's this call to submit to one another in marriage. And then there's this call for men to love their wives like Christ loved the church. And to me, like I'm interpreting that, he's saying to be a servant like Jesus was a servant. And that scripture is interpreted, men, you're in charge of the house, and wives have to do whatever the husband says. And that's historically the biblical interpretation of that. And that's not what's actually happening in that scripture. And so this hierarchy of who has more authority or who has more charge is where the question of equal comes from. And it's just not even part of the conversation. We are humans and we are intrinsically valuable, equal in value and weight and measure to the Lord, and we should be to each other. And that's not historically been the case in so many contexts and settings. But when we use that scripture that way to lord over and have, like, that's just not what it's meant for. And so if you're wondering, how do you love like Jesus loved? How do you love your wife like Jesus loved the church? He gave his life up and died for her. What kind of leader was he to the church? He was the kind of leader that empowered people to live out their full God-given potential. And so for me, I want to be the kind of husband that leans into that I am not just sacrificing my life in that sense. And like, now I get this lordship. I want to empower my wife to do the things that God's called her to do. And I want to empower my children to do the things that God's called them to do. And I think, to me, that answers the question of equality in the sense that I consider others better than myself in the first place, because that's a scriptural construct. Is like, I want to then prefer them. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, and that's not a downplay on how I feel God made me and my place in all this. But if I'm going to emulate Jesus, Jesus came and served and died and empowered people to do and be what God called them to be. And that's a call that I take really, really seriously. And so I want to be that for my family.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe, for that. So last question is, in your marriage, what is your strength that you have that the other spouse doesn't have that balances the relationship?
I would say that I have this mindset that everything's going to be okay.
And I am completely opposite, where
And-
everything is
But what if?
what if.
You know, where it goes, like, we'll be laying in bed, you know, both of our eyes are rolling back.
I'm a night owl.
You know,
that never happens.
And it goes, you know, hey, did you shut the lizard light off? And I'm going, it's fine. It's going to be okay. Yeah, but what if it burns the house down? Could you live with that? No. Okay, and I get up and go shut it off. You know, so that's, I think if we were both what if people, we would probably
we
both have white hair right now.
Yeah, we would very much have a struggling relationship, I feel like. I think too is like, because we are so opposite, we tone each other down in a sense. Like, he doesn't need much of the tone down, but because I am such a what if person, I get paranoid, I get worried, I get frustrated and angry, and he's just like I'm like the Hulk in areas, and then he's just kind of like so mellow, and he just like brings me back to reality, where he's like, everything is fine. Like,
But if you didn't bring up the what ifs too, I would probably like just
Nothing
drive
would
right
get
off a
done.
cliff.
Yeah.
I
Set
would burn
yourself
my
on
house down,
fire.
Yeah.
You know.
For some reason, when he said drive right off a cliff, I had that picture of
O'Doyle rules. O'Doyle rules.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to watch Harold and Maude for my film criticism class. I'm almost done with school. Film criticism, my last class, and I had to watch this freaking weird movie called Harold and Maude from the 70s.
Yeah, I wasn't even watching. I would look over like, what are you watching?
So, like,
That
this
sounds so
20-year-old
dumb.
kid fell in love with an 80-year-old lady.
oh gosh.
And it was so weird.
Wow.
And the end of that movie, he drives a jaguar off a cliff, and you think he commits suicide, but then he walks away happily dancing with a banjo. It is the weirdest
All right.
movie.
The dumbest.
It's art.
It was the 70s.
Doesn't make
man.
it good.
I'm pretty sure they were all tripping on acid when
Yeah.
they made that. So I think, to go back to the question, do you want to answer first?
Yeah. I think that there are some things that Joe tends to, like, his response to things are a lot different than my response to things, and I'm more of the calmer one, and he's usually a little bit more theatrical in it. And so I
You
think
can say dramatic.
no, I
It's
don't
true.
like to call you
It's
dramatic. That's
true.
not nice. And
I'll say
so
it.
I guess I don't know if theatrical is nice either. But so things can seem a lot bigger in his eyesight, frame of mind, and mine is more like it's almost in the same vein as your guys's. Like, I'm more of the one that kind of pulls him down a little bit and can pop his bubble.
No, I wouldn't say. So you're a realist, and I'm a dreamer.
Yeah.
But I would say it like this too, that because you're a realist, you actually help me accomplish my dreams.
Yeah, I think
because
it
you ask
complements-
questions.
Yeah, like,
That
well, hold on, buddy. Let's talk about
so
this.
and,
You know,
and we had this was one of those things we were talking about earlier. Like, I had to learn that she's not popping my bubble. She's actually trying to help me.
yeah, I'm not
realize
trying
the
to be like
potential
a
of it.
dream killer.
She's actually, so I had to learn that her asking questions that I didn't think about wasn't her trying to kill my dream. It was her actually trying to help me realize the dream
Right.
by posing questions that I need to think through, not as a roadblock
Right.
to stop.
Also, that we wouldn't go in major debt. Like, hold on, wait a minute. Let's talk about this.
But yeah, so like asking the question, like, if you're gonna start a business, would we be okay if you didn't get any work? And I'm
Mhm.
like, early on, I'm like, oh, we gotta have more faith. We gotta do this and this. And then like as we got older, I'm like, oh, she wants me to do this. She never said in that, there was never a no, don't do that.
Yeah.
There was a think through this. If you're going to do that, what does
Right.
this look like? And so,
Kind of like you go through the steps first.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so, you know, Nicole has never, ever popped a bubble of a dream of mine. I would describe it more like she's just a little mean to herself sometimes, I would say, in that. I would say that I'm like a kite and she's the tail.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a kite with no tail, it just flips out and there's no point or purpose to having a kite with no tail. But when you put the tail on it, it allows there to be control and you can actually use the kite for its purpose. And
I'll always be your tail to your kite.
yeah. Yeah, and that's like the biggest thing is that her sense of realism and asking questions, because sometimes my dreams get so big in my mind because I'm theatrical and dramatic.
I mean, I'm a dreamer too. Here's something I'm learning about Joe
Mm-hmm.
is that if I did not pull him back, like sometimes I wonder if I'm holding him back because he will, like watching him over the weekend, I'm like, he has turned something that I dreamt about so much bigger. Like, I don't know if I said that correctly, but I've watched
Like an idea you had.
Yeah, like if I have an idea, Joe will grab my idea and make it so much
Right.
bigger than I ever imagined.
Mm-hmm.
And
You've never said that before.
I know I was thinking about that this weekend. I was so proud of you.
Wow.
And
I might cry.
and
That's
I'm
like beautiful or scary.
and
They've
but
called you the
anytime that
cheerleader before, right?
But
Yeah.
anytime if I told Joe that I want to be a touring artist and I want to go travel and do all these things and live in Nashville, he would probably pack the house up tomorrow. You know, like he's very
call us first.
right. Like
Yeah, you guys
You'd
would have
be
to come.
like,
So
yeah.
we've decided that we would never live anywhere without you guys.
I think Nikki and I have decided that too. Matt just has to come because I've
Yeah.
never talked to him about it.
unless the Lord is calling you to Romania, I'm not moving there. But you can go.
Yeah.
I'll let
Yeah,
you do
we'll
that.
never leave without you. If you leave without us, that's on you.
Nikki
Yeah.
and I have had that conversation where it's like, I don't know if I can see us living any further away from each other
Yeah.
than we currently
Oh
are.
my gosh.
Right.
We want to get closer.
Yeah.
But anyway, so okay. But was that what you were going to say? What about?
Well, I just think I wouldn't say that. I don't know. I think you're giving me too much credit in that personally. Thank you for saying that. That's awesome. I just feel like anytime, because I started my own company and
Which I already at first I pumped the brakes on that. Like I was like, wait a minute, you want to do what? Like hold on, and then I just realized
blue collar too. Like we grew up like
Right.
super blue collar. Like
this was
9
the
to
first
5
time
It's
though
scary.
that I actually was like, fine, you do whatever you need to do, and I'll support you in this like how in the capacity that you did it in.
Mhm.
I've always supported you. I've always been your right hand man in anything that you've wanted to do. But this is the first time where I've like completely like I am not gonna pump any brakes. I'm gonna let him do what he wants, and I'm really proud of you and where you've in just 1 year how far it's come.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
One and two, I would never ever say that you've held me back.
that was my own insecurity.
Yeah,
that was never
because-
you, like ever.
Because the thing too is I do things all the way, all the time, and I think that God put you in my life for such clear reasons when I look back at it. Like I love my family so much and I love you so much, like more than anything.
Same.
But I get so one track minded that if I don't have a reminder to do things that I need to do and want to do, I like wouldn't do them out of
There'd be
fear
neglect and
yeah.
yeah.
And so like, and it's always been so loving and I view it as so loving, not nagging, not like I never have viewed it this way, but just the reminders, hey, spend time with your kids today. Oh yeah, I need to put this down. Like I know you're doing
Yeah, it's never
schoolwork.
out of like I think you're a bad dad because you're not Also, one thing I'll just say on a side note, one thing I try to do for the girls, like when they're like, Dad's not home, like we miss Dad. I'm like, I changed my tone and saying like, isn't he such a good dad that he would work so hard so that we can have these things? Like I try to make sure that while they're missing you, they're realizing that you're not just going to go do this like you want to be away from us. It's that you're doing this because you love us. Does that make sense? Like I try to
Well,
make
and
sure
it's
that
harder
they
for the younger girls
right.
because they're homeschooled, and so they see you 24/7, and they feel that I'm gone. Like
Right.
Scarlett doesn't say that nearly as often because most of the time when I'm gone, she's at school,
Right.
and so there is an aspect just of their minds not comprehending the difference of, well, why are you home all the time and
Right.
Dad's not?
Right.
So there is that, but yeah, I think you bring out the best in me in that too, and
That's right.
you hold me to a high standard as well.
It's recorded.
That is true. I do hold you to a high standard. That is true. And you hold me to one as well. One thing I will say is Joe puts me in my place. And it's okay. I need it. Like if I am
You're dang right.
if I am unruly, he's not afraid to be like, Nicole, seriously, like calm down. You are good at that. I don't think you ever tell me to calm down.
I don't think I've ever once told you to
I think
calm
I'd be
down
mad if you
and
said
not
that, but
regretted it.
you know what I mean? Like you just
Well, I've said stop.
or you told me like you're being mean to me.
Yeah.
Like he will say like, Nicole, you're being mean. And I'm like, you're being mean. Yeah.
No, you are, but what am I?
I
You
see
mean
that
me.
sometimes like, and he's like, are you mocking me? I'm like, I'm bored.
Poor Matt.
I think I've just learned too, like, sometimes we just need to say, like, we've also gone through a huge healing journey of like processing trauma, and sometimes I've learned like we just need to say to each other, and it's okay. Like, I don't like that you did that, and could you not? You know, and
yeah, respect goes a long way. That's one thing you see. Like, I don't know about for you guys. Like, if Ashley went to you, Matt, and was like, "Hey, like I don't like that," blah blah. I think there's a visible, like, you can see the respect when those things start to change. Like, oh, okay, she actually like heard me because she's not doing those things anymore, vice versa. Does that make sense? Yeah. There's just a level of respect there that's really important.
Yeah.
So
It takes a lot for me to like say to Matt. It doesn't happen often at all, really. So for me to say to Matt, like, I was really hurt when you said this because I'm such a
sorry,
like,
it's just he's purring and you can probably hear it.
bringing the rhythm, bringing the beat. But it's more of like when I express how I feel, and I externally say it, there's a healing in me that happens because then I get really emotional and then I'm like wanting to cry and then I go lock myself in my bedroom tower and
you know what's funny that I just thought about, because it's true in like every couple, like opposites attract so much.
yeah.
Like Ashley and I are so much alike, and you and
I'm
Matt are
always like the guy and you're always like the girl. It
Not
is really
always,
in
but
most
sometimes.
of our friendships.
But like when
it's
Ashley's
very true.
there's a couple things she said even tonight when she's talking. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so like that.
I will say though, something that I thought of like the the newlywed question, like what would you tell yourself being 10 years into your marriage? We're like 15 now, but what would you tell your newlywed self? I would honestly work really, really hard at insecurities.
Yeah.
That's probably one of my biggest things. It's like when I realized that like my insecurities would just cause so much friction and like insecurity in our marriage, all that stuff. So like working on like self, like working on confidence and who you are in Christ and who he's made you to be and standing firm in that goes so much further than
Mm-hmm.
constantly wondering if you're good enough or if he loves you or whatever. Like, I'll say this too. It is not Joe's job to make me feel beautiful or make me feel good enough. That's not your job. Now, do you say it to me and do I love those words of affirmation? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes. And I think you should say those. We should say those things. We should
Yeah.
compliment each other. But like, it is not your job to make me feel that way. It is something that I need to make sure that I'm finding in the Lord and like with my time spent with him. Because if you never told me that I was beautiful again, I still want to does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I
I'm still
think
beautiful regardless
part
of
of
what you
the-
say.
part of the insecurity stuff though too has come through communication and like learning more about each other, right? Like,
Right.
you know, early on, if you wouldn't want to be physically intimate, I'd be like, oh, you're not attracted to me, and that would be my insecurity. Like, oh,
Right.
there must be something about
Mhm.
me that you
Right.
just,
Yeah.
you know, because I look at you and I'm like, all right, I'm ready.
But
to
really,
go.
I'm actually battling
Yeah.
with my own
Right.
stuff.
And so
Right.
like we've had to
Yeah.
learn that over the years too, and that's caused less friction in that.
Well,
area.
we probably should have an intimacy talk eventually in our podcast, but we'll probably have to ask our kiddos not to listen to that one.
Yeah, Liam
Liam listens,
to
right?
all of our
Yeah.
conversations,
right,
like
so-
our podcast.
Yeah.
But one day I would love to talk about that too.
What was it? There's like Matt tells me on a daily basis like how beautiful I am to him and everything, and I've always struggled with insecurity with my image, and I would say I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying. I
That's
don't
what she
understand.
says.
Like
Sometimes
I just don't get
unprompted.
it,
She'll be like, "What are you doing here?"
you know.
Yeah, I'm like, ew, gross.
But I think a lot of it is the world puts an image
Yeah.
oh,
out
for sure.
there.
Yeah.
And if you don't check mark all of these boxes of what a perfect looking person is, that is,
You're not desirable.
you're not, no,
Right.
you're not beautiful.
Like, how could you love me?
Yeah.
And so I have to work on
Yeah.
looking in the mirror and saying, like, actually,
Mm-hmm.
you're a catch. Like, you
And
know,
what was the other one that we talked about? Oh, it was like the way my brain works. I don't like, we were just having this conversation. We have it many times because, like, the way that my brain works, to me, it's common sense stuff. And I tell Matt, I'm like, I'm very empathetic. I think of things like this. And I'll tell Matt, I'm like, why don't people think that way? Like, why am I broken? Like, why do I have this mindset? And he had to like kind of reel me back in the sense of like, that's what separates me, you know, like,
Mm.
I don't know. Like we just had that conversation. Was it yesterday? Yeah. Because I was just like, I don't understand why people are mean like that,
Yeah.
or why they can't understand that this is a good thing. And it, to me, in my brain, is common sense. And we have those common sense conversations all the time because what's common sense in my brain is not common sense in his brain.
Well,
and then we
sometimes
get
just
to
because it's common doesn't mean it makes sense.
right.
Well, it's because Ashley is the most like empathetic, sympathetic, morally conscious
her compass
person.
is strong.
Her
Yeah.
moral compass is stronger than anybody that
Remember when
I
I
know.
almost walked myself to the police station? Not walked, drove, because I wasn't sure if the light was red or not. And I'm like, do I go and ask for my ticket? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, so
Nah,
she has
girl.
a super strong moral compass beyond anybody that I know. So she sees the world through this lens of always being considerate of other people. And I would say that pretty much everybody goes through life selfishly. You know, when I drive and I'm trying to find a parking spot, you know, I'll park janky. I'm like, I don't care. You know? And it's like, she's like, no, well, what about
Check
the other
your
person?
spot.
I'm like,
Yes, me too.
Was it you that I just did that with?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was like, I had to check my spot.
and
You're a bad parker.
But I try to fix it for people.
You do.
so that's like in everything. Most people, we go through life naturally being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of that moral compass that conscience that we have, that we know right and wrong, and she just has a much stronger version of that than anyone that I know.
So
Well,
she probably
I-
gets wounded a lot more easier.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so
I take
just
things to heart a lot.
she sees
I
She
say that
just-
a lot more easily.
Is it because of like
Easily.
I wouldn't do that to you? Why would you do that to me?
No, actually, it's for me. I take things to heart in a sense of like, what did I do wrong? It's always a
Yeah.
what did I do wrong?
So it goes back
Yeah.
to like an
So
insecurity.
it's
thing.
all
Yes,
it's
yes.
she's always conscious
Someone
of
can smack me
everything
and be
around
like, what
her.
did I do to you?
Yeah, she's always conscious of everything around her, being empathetic, being considerate, having a moral compass, because I think you're really scared of making a mistake and getting in trouble.
Yeah.
And you are
Yeah.
so like, if you do something wrong or you're in trouble, like it is a very big deal to you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like when people hurt and it hurt. And I don't know when it flipped, but and it's probably a lot to do with Matt, but there was a flip that happened. And it was a long time because in high school, I was the complete opposite. Like, I was just like, but I was also going through a lot of trauma that I didn't really realize I had.
Yeah.
You know, and I just clung on to anyone that was by me, even if they were like out partying and stuff. And I'd be like, well, I just want to hang out. Like, I don't know. Like, there's so much, like, once I hit my 30s, I was like, something's different. Like, and it was like as if all this trauma in my life hit me and I have to deal with it when in my 30s. I was like, I can't believe why did it not bother me then? But now it's bothering me now. And then the idea of like other people hurting and suffering and I always go back to like that. I don't know if it's like a song or what it was, but it's like, Lord, like, break my heart for what breaks yours.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that is a painful heart. I'm just like, I will weep. I will remember when I was pregnant, it was bad. When I was pregnant with Liam, you were still in Nebraska. It was Christmas morning.
Yeah, she cried because she saw a bird that was all alone on Christmas.
I was driving. I cried so bad because this bird was alone on Christmas.
Do you know one time, and I
was like,
wasn't, listen, one time I wasn't even pregnant. This was a year ago, and
now I cry all the time.
I was spending time with the Lord and at my kitchen table, and I like neglected these plants, and it's winter time, and I watched this bird take this dead plant and make a nest, and I just started crying.
Yeah.
And I was like, Lord, look at you using something dead for
And
something
I think
beautiful.
That's exactly it. I think the Lord has like
Got it.
really shifted
Nice.
things that where it's
I'm the
like
dramatic one.
Okay, but when it's the
Well,
Lord, I cry.
Yeah.
When I need
Yes,
to,
yeah.
if I need to feel emotion, my YouTube algo is weird sometimes because it goes.
Oh, you mean the soldiers coming home?
Yeah,
I
I'll sit
get
there.
that.
I'll sit there for
I
like,
get that.
I'll be in my car, for like 20 minutes just watching
It's
compilations
like I haven't felt in a
of
while.
these soldiers
Let me
coming
just watch
home,
this.
or these like
They
these
are
kids
really
that haven't
emotional.
seen their parents in 10 years, or this old man that his dog died and they surprise him with a new puppy on Christmas. And I'm sitting there in my car just. Someone drives by, Mommy, what's wrong with that man? I'm like,
Nothing, dear. Don't look at him.
Sir, sorry, sir, do you need help? Sorry.
For some reason.
Remember that story?
It's
When
for
you were Beloit
me.
sleeping in your car?
Wait, okay, let's end.
No, a cop came
Off
up to
topic. Sorry.
a cop
Okay.
came up to me and asked if I was doing drugs.
Sir, are you on drugs?
Okay, listen. Let's end on a fun note where we talk about some of our like inside jokes or kind of fun little like our favorite memories that we have with each other.
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh,
one of
I'll go first.
okay,
I
go.
got a good one.
Okay.
So when Nicole and I were dating, we lived in Sterling, Colorado. So she lived with my sister. I lived with my parents. We weren't living together. We were just
I
dating.
don't know where this is going.
And we went on a date late at night. Like we got some fast food, and we were gonna all have like this late night picnic or whatever. And we're like laying down on the blanket and looking at the stars. And again, this is when I tried to do like cheesy romantic stuff because I thought that's what you did in relationships. Because Nicole's the first
Some
person.
you do.
Yeah, like Nicole's also. I've never dated anyone else. I've
I'm
never
his
been
first.
with anyone else. Like
Like everything
and
except
so
I think he
I
made out
was
with some
learning how
people.
to be What'd you say?
I think you made out with some girls at some point, but I'm pretty much your first everything.
Yeah.
I'll tell you when you're older.
One hundo. So we're like laying down, looking at the stars, and for some reason, like we took our glasses off and laid them on the blanket, and we're just like looking at the stars. It's like 10:30 at night, Sterling, Colorado, public park, and then the sprinklers turned on. So we got up and
We
ran
were
to the
drenched.
car, picked up the
Oh, I remember
blanket,
hearing
and
this
then
story.
realized, oh shoot, our glasses were on that blanket, so we had to go find our glasses. So we put the blanket on over us and
And we had
tried
to like feel for our
crawling around like
glasses.
Velma from Scooby Doo while the sprinklers are going off.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite memory. What do you guys like?
You have one, don't you?
I had one I was thinking of, and then I forgot it. So, but yeah, we have tons, obviously, because we're
You got 20 years
we have
worth.
tons. So most of our inside jokes are movie quotes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, we
That's a
quote
big
lot.
one. I would
ADHD.
say,
Mm-hmm.
Matt's in your phone as husband.
Yes. Husband. James Bond fan.
something that
And-
we say often. So I would say at least once a week, even though it's been maybe close to 15 years since this happened. We were on a walk, and we were walking our dog. Okay.
I didn't know you guys ever had a dog.
Yeah, we had this
we
dog.
had
We
Winslow.
only had it for like a month
Yeah.
because I was pregnant and I couldn't keep up with taking care of him. I was like, he deserves a better home. I was too tired.
And whatever. So there's this old couple, and they were working in their garden in their flower bed, and we were walking by with the dog, and this lady.
Sorry, y'all. The cat's trying to bite my cords.
I'm sorry. Continue.
Hold on.
Okay, sorry.
Let me rewind.
Wait. You have to watch, Joe. You have to watch that back because you were like, okay, sorry. Anyway,
He's so
So-
brave.
he's
So
an
we were
idiot.
walking our dog, and we're going down the sidewalk, and there's this old couple working in their flower garden, and they're probably in their 70s ish, and the lady she's Asian, and I don't do this to make fun of anything, but she goes up to the puppy and she goes, "Oh," and the puppy comes and greets her. She goes, "Oh, you're going to say to me hi? Oh, you're going to say to me hi?" And so this has been 15 years.
Love
And
her.
I would say probably at least maybe like once a week or so, I will go, "Here, come say to me hi." All right, you go, come say to me hi. And that's just one of our little inside things, because it was this sweet old lady, and just her vocabulary. It was super cute,
say to
and we still do that. And another one, we went to Fright Fest at
Oh my gosh.
at
You were
Six
there, weren't you?
Flags.
When
Probably.
we first started
And-
dating, it was our first
Yeah,
year
we had
together.
been dating
Really
2
a
months.
couple months, yeah.
You know. So this
He was
dude,
so
this
mean to
giant
me.
dude in this big costume comes running up to us, and she like freaks out and starts running away.
I don't like things in costume.
Yep, so she
like
starts
that.
running away. Well,
It looked like the
this-
Verlo mattress.
this Joker in this Verlo mattress looking get up runs with her and grabs her hand, and she thinks it's me. So she's running away from this guy in the
Holding this
costume with her
guy's
eyes
hand.
closed. And then she looks over and opens her eyes, and it's the dude in the big costume. I thought it was you. So I
Matt's
don't know.
like way down there watching
just
this
like-
happen. He's not even trying to save me. He's just
I'm just like, here's my heart goodbye, you know?
He doesn't engage in physical altercation.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah,
I'll see you
I'm
when
like-
you.
He's just like, see ya. Yeah, I think. Well, I don't know about like best memories, favorite memories, or anything like that, because we have so many of them. Those are really good
So
ones.
many.
So, but my favorite thing to do is just to annoy the crap out of you.
Yeah,
It
she does
is.
like these yells to just
I love to just.
Walk by and she'd just be like,
still
fucking-
instigator.
remember that
Poke
one
the
time when
bear.
your mom was in town when you guys lived in the Bluff Road apartments or whatever in Whitewater? You like lived in that second story, and the door was open, and you're like, you said something like, somebody opened the door. And so Matt opened it, and you turn around, and you're like, where's the door open?
I will do things like, I'd be like, Matt. And he's like, what? And I'm like, Matt. And he's like, what? And I'm like, Matt. And he's like, what? And I'm like, nothing. Nothing. Like, I would just get to him. But yeah, and there's like, I always try to just
Matt's
bug
journal,
him.
she did
It's
it
my
again.
My favorite thing to do every day is just to bug him somehow.
We have like little things like when one time Joe said we couldn't hear each other and we were newlyweds and
Oh, that's why you couldn't hear each other?
we just couldn't hear. We were across the room or something, and I said, "You're sending me," or he said, "You're sending me mixed messages," and I said, "Eggs, bacon, 3 sausages."
She's like, what, you want breakfast? And I'm like, what? She's like, you said eggs,
Eggs,
and bacon,
3 sausages. So
And I was
now, like, every time Joe, like, if he's sending me mixed messages or vice versa, he'll go, eggs and bacon, 3 sausages, and then I'll know like I'm sending him mixed messages. Another one
Or
is Croatia.
Yeah.
Croatia. So one time Joe was rubbing my back, and I was like, all over. I said rub all over, and he went Croatia, and I was like, no, I said rub my whole back.
No.
I don't know how you thought
She said,
I heard.
rub my shoulder.
No,
And then
I said all over because Croatia means all over now.
yeah.
Yeah. So
But
like
I thought you were saying shoulder or something, and it came out Croatia, and then Croatia was on the news. Like I was reading it, and it was a thing.
no, no, none
Am I
of
just-
that.
I don't even. We have different memories about what our
Loud
famous.
noises.
No,
One of
it
my
was
other
literally Croatia. Like
Yeah,
rub my whole
I
back.
know.
There's no
And you
Croatia
still-
on the news.
Did I
got a
invent that
brand
part?
new bag. Okay,
Okay, we can't talk about that one.
no.
Warning. Warning.
Another one that was super funny, just like in that same thing. When we would come visit, we lived in Nebraska. We'd come visit Wisconsin. We had friends of ours who lived in Jackson, Minnesota, and Mark and Jenny Johnson, and we would stay at their house. Like it's like the halfway point, right? We stay at their house. They had a spare bedroom, and we were at their house one night, and I was like gassy.
Oh,
But I was like trying to be quiet and respectful. We were at our friend's house and like getting ready to go to bed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so gassy. And Nicole goes, you're Cassie?
yeah, like,
like,
who's
no.
Cassie?
It's like, no, I'm gassy.
So now we say like
I'm Cassie.
I'm Cassie. Yeah.
Okay, so because now that you said that, did you guys like, because clearly everyone passes gas, did you guys like have any like, when you first time passed gas in front of each other?
Can I tell the story?
Yeah, you can tell the story.
Okay, so
You're like caressing her dog.
Oh no,
She's
and I'm wearing
shorts.
short, so he's
Oh.
like,
Being modest.
yeah, thanks, babe.
So Nicole and I have been dating for a month. Like, so when we first started, so when we got kicked out of the Honor Academy, right? She was actually already gone, and then I got kicked out. I went to Colorado, so she was in Wisconsin already. I went to Colorado. That's where my parents lived at the time, and we'd been dating.
I came to visit.
It'd been like a month, so she came to visit, and we were hanging out.
We were
like,
upstairs.
upstairs hanging out, and I was like, "Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom," so I'm gonna run.
Which in my
downstairs.
brain, I was like, yes, because I had to like let one rip. Like,
so I walk out of the, I don't know, shared.
walked out of the room,
place
and there's a little landing there with a
in
computer.
front of the steps.
Yeah.
And my little brother, which if I would have gone downstairs, you would have. My little brother was there. So I see my little brother, and he's like playing a computer game, like 11 years old, like, I'm playing a game. I don't know. That's how they play games. And so he's playing the game, and I don't say anything. I just go over, and I'm like looking at what he's doing. And like 3 seconds later, you just hear so loud. And I was like,
I had to have gone across the room into a different room. Like,
it was like so loud. And I was
It's
like,
off the walls.
here's what I wish.
I was
I
like-
wish Joe wouldn't have said anything, but instead I hear,
babe?
babe? I'm like,
And then Nicole goes,
I was like,
oh crap.
and Joe's like, was that you? I'm like, no, it was the movie. Like, it's in the, he's like, it was you. And that's what broke the barrier.
Broke the
That
barrier
popped
so
the
fast.
seal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. It was
Yep,
like the
that
most
broke the
disgusting
ice.
fart she's ever
That
had.
bursted the bubble. That
this
opened
day.
the
He
floodgates.
still
think-
married me.
I think for Matt, it was just that we were friends for so long. You already were farting.
You did it in your sleep.
I did.
Just so America knows.
America's watching this now.
You
Yeah.
never
Oh, I thought
know.
it was still 5 people.
Oh, well,
No, I mean,
sorry,
there's
five
still
people.
there's certain things that are sacred, you know, and there's, 20 years together, and there's certain things, bathroom things that are completely, you're alone with, and certain things that I'm alone with. You know what I'm saying?
But
Yeah, I
for
get it.
farting,
Yeah.
the first time I farted in front of you was accidental. I was sleeping, and it was like within the year, our first year together. I fell asleep. I tooted. I didn't fart. I tooted.
You fluffer puffed?
Yes.
Ew,
And
don't call it that
instead of him
ever.
just letting me
She
sleep,
let little Fluffy off the leash.
Ew,
instead of
Little
just
fluffy
letting me
dog.
sleep, he
This is
pushes
quality
me
content.
away
This
as
is
if like he was shocked.
Quality content.
Right. Like you pushed me away a little bit, like I scared
I
you.
was like, Did
You're
that
like,
really
"Did that
just
happen?"
happen? You do exist.
They do exist.
So,
But yeah,
yeah.
that's it.
I'm so glad we can end on.
But it was 5
Brown
years
note.
after
Yeah.
before I actually farted in front of you.
Oh,
Well,
That's it. That's us.
That's all, folks.
that's it.
that's it.
Hope you
Jesus loves
enjoyed
You got a lot to edit, I'm sure.
Goodbye.
There it is.
Goodbye. Thanks for listening to Real as Possible. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the laughs with someone who needs it. See you next time.